Whoa. Okay. What a way to start, huh? We were on such a roll. Oh man. All right. So for those who did stay with us, thank you during that time. I hope that you'll rejoin us here, and please send some comments in here. Let us know that you can hear us now. All right. I do apologize for that. It does sound like we are coming through as I have my phone going as well. Okay. So let's start over. Let's start over. Let's redo this, you guys. This is what happens. See, Ray leaves and everything falls apart.
We
Ray?
need you, Ray.
I know. So welcome to our Facebook Live. Again, I'm Brianna Larimer. With me is Laura Lindsay, and I'm so grateful. Again, thank you for being here today as our special guest.
Of course. Thanks for being here. I love to talk about social media.
Yes, and that's what you do. You are the Senior Strategic Marketing Specialist. I got it right the second time.
That's right. That's right. So I focus on social media. It's not my full-time job. It definitely could be. As you all know, if you manage social media, it could be a full-time job. But I do all things marketing for MU Extension. So promoting our events, programs, our impact, the great things that we do around the state, making sure everyone knows about it.
Yes, and you're doing an excellent job, and she is inundated with things that she has on her plate to do. So we're so grateful for having your talent.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes. And you've been with us for what, 7 years now? Is that what you said?
Been here 7 years.
Okay.
Been really focusing on social media probably the last 4 to 5 years. So it wasn't initially part of my job, but has slowly become more and more a part of it. And so much has changed since then. So it's like you're constantly learning, and I want to teach other people what I've learned. So.
Yeah. Well, that's why we have you here today. I'm so excited about this. And before we jump right into the content, I'm looking at comments here. I see Robert saying that we can hear us on the phone, but not on the laptop. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. If you're having issues, please let us know in chat as well. We're hearing others saying that they can hear us and see us, I hope. So, goodness gracious, technical issues. See, it was probably because I posed the question, what's your favorite social media platform, in the previous chats, and Facebook was like, no.
Oh, yeah. They don't want to hear about anyone else.
No. So I did enter that in our last chat, if you were with us on our first go of this. So please let us know in the chat section, what is your favorite social media platform, and why? All right, why do you use it? Why do you like it? For you, what would you say it is for you, Laura?
I would say probably from a business perspective, Facebook is my favorite, simply because that's where our audience is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm able to post a lot of different types of content to Facebook. You're so limited with Twitter. Instagram is so photo-based, but Facebook, you can kind of play around with a lot of different ways to post your content.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got Facebook Live videos. Right. You can post, pre-made videos. There's so many opportunities. So I'm going to say Facebook.
And it reaches so many people too. And I'm with you. I am on the Facebook bandwagon there. And I think that truly, you're right. The opportunities are endless when it comes to that particular platform. So the one we're currently on.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about some of the things that you maybe see. You talk about these trends with social media a little bit, things that kind of come and go. I know there's a few more social media platforms out there now than there used to be.
Yeah.
In general, it seems like we're getting away from text-heavy platforms. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
I think it's really hard to say yes or no whenever you're talking about social media, right? Because it depends. It depends on who your audience is, mm-hmm. what your content is, what type of information are you sharing. But in general, I would say that's true.
Okay.
But there are some people that really want a lot of information.
Sure.
And so you just kind of have to be fluid and focus on how people are responding. You'll learn a lot by your analytics and shares and likes. If no one's engaging with your post, that's not how they like to get their information. Right? But if you're getting a lot of shares, you're getting a lot of likes, people are commenting and asking additional questions, that's what you want to keep doing.
Right.
for that particular platform.
Right. Well, and I appreciate you saying that, because you're kind of leading us right into this first section of our don'ts, right? We want to jump into these do's and don'ts of social media, because there are quite a few of them out there, and we're going to, as we start talking about some of them, we looked at it from a very general perspective, primarily kind of maybe on business pages a little bit more, but certainly can kind of flow over into your individual pages. But the very first one you say, and I want to see if I can get it up here on our screen, if technology will work with me.
Fingers crossed.
It's always fun being the technical director and part of the training too. All right, but our very first one, our very first don't here, is going to be making sure that you're not treating all the platforms the same, right? That's kind of exactly what you just said. There are so many out there, and so tell me, I guess, a couple of the top ones that you know are being widely used right now.
So for Twitter, for example, people who are on Twitter like to consume things quickly. They want their information very fast. And you have to post several times a day on Twitter in order for your message to be seen, because the message itself is going to be short-lived, you know. Facebook, again, like we had talked about earlier, you're able to be a little more flexible with your posting. Usually, you know, a rule of thumb is that you post at least 3 times a week, once a day. If you have good content that resonates with your audience, if you can post something on Facebook once a day, that's pretty good. Instagram is all photo based, you know, so you don't even need to be on Instagram. There's no need for you to even worry about that social media platform if you don't have good engaging photos.
Right.
Don't even worry about it. TikTok, you know, this is something new that's really popular, and I've heard a lot of people want to get on TikTok just because they're hearing a lot about it.
Right.
That is something, you know, that the younger generation is really into right now. And so if your target audience is that age group, it might be something you want to think about, only if your content will resonate to those short, kind of quirky videos.
Absolutely.
And so you don't want to post the same content to all of those social medias with the same photo and the same text, because you're not going to get good interaction, because everyone consumes it differently.
Right. And hearing you say that, I think it's interesting because, you know, we, as you saw in the trivia, again, a lot of people have several different types of accounts, probably across the spectrum of all those different pages you just mentioned. But you're right, our time becomes so limited that we end up just kind of blanket posting across all of them. And you're not getting the, I guess, the good credibility that you would as an organization, because people, especially younger generations, might be looking at you and thinking you don't know how to use this particular platform.
Yes, I think that's a really key point, is that don't get on a social media platform just because you think you have to.
Right.
Only get on a social media platform if you have content, photos, videos, images that will resonate with the audience on that platform.
Right.
Because it takes way too much time to do something that is going to bring you so few engagements.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, there are platforms out there. I know we use Hootsuite here at the university. There are several out there that help you if you do manage multiple different accounts. However, again, it becomes all too easy to just kind of blanket the post and put it all out there. And so be very specific about targeting which platform you want to jump onto. And you're right, audience is important. You know, Facebook, we see a lot of people across all ages on there, including your parents and your grandparents and maybe in some cases great grandparents. And so everybody's out there. And then you see what happens is younger demographics want to switch then. So Instagram did become kind of the next big thing. And it was very picture heavy. It was very video, kind of pictures and videos. And I think demographic wise, you still see a lot of folks in that maybe 24 to 49,
I think, is what the target demographic says.
Okay. Okay. And there's tons of research out there on this as well.
Yes.
So if you're interested about a specific platform, please just Google it. Find out what the demographic is. And as Laura mentioned, TikTok, that's one of the newest platforms. And you have to think about, again, do you have the capacity to post the type of content that's necessary on each of those platforms? So with TikTok, for example, it's all videos.
Right.
And so, and the videos, if you do them directly through TikTok, I believe are only 15 seconds at a time, but you can string them together for a full minute or upload your own content. It's a lot of time.
Right.
It's a lot of time. Again, you're right. If you have all those accounts, what else are you doing?
Right.
So be very strategic, all right? So don't treat all of your social media platforms the same, all right? Don't do it.
Yeah.
Next thing I love that you brought up, all right, we're going to go back to another don't, right? We're going to go through all of our don'ts and we're going to finish on the positive and go through our do's. I like that approach. I want to pause real quick. I'm not seeing a lot of comments come in, but please, if you have questions or any comments related to any of the things we're talking about, post those in the comments section. We'd like to hear from you. It's certainly this is an engagement opportunity for you.
Yeah.
So our next big don't, and I loved the way that you said this. All right, you had said, don't forget what social media was designed for. And it sounds odd at first, but I think your point was great. It's meant to be social.
Right.
What happens on now besides social?
Yeah. People get so serious on social media nowadays, it seems like, and so if you're managing a business account specifically, I think it's important to remember people are not coming to your Facebook account to find out what event you're hosting next. I mean, that would be great if they did, right? But they're coming to social media, coming on Facebook and whatnot to see pictures of their grandkids or to see, get some gardening information about, what's happening. And so what I always tell people in social media training is that 80% of your post should be useful information to your audience. Right. So it should be educational, it should solve a problem, it should provide knowledge that your audience needs. Only 20% of your content should actually be promotional. And the reason is because you think about yourself when you're on your phone and you're scrolling through your social media. You're scrolling. What makes you stop the scroll to actually read something?
It's typically the stories, not the promotional things. I skip past all the ads, Laura.
Right. Right. You want something that's going to solve a problem.
Right.
And so when your followers, the people that like your account, all of those different things that you call them, once they understand that you're a credible resource to them, they are much more likely going to stop that scroll when you are promoting an event or a conference or a publication or something that you're wanting, them to purchase, become involved in or whatnot.
Sure.
Because you've established yourself as a credible resource with information they want. So they're going to look to you for that.
Yeah, I think I loved what you said. The idea that, again, your content should be to inform, so educate, entertain maybe sometimes too. And really just involve them in what it is. Don't forget about your polling options. Yeah. Don't forget about posting questions out there, trying to get feedback in from other people too. Again, it's meant to be social.
Yes, and it shouldn't be one-sided. It shouldn't just be you talking all the time. You don't want a conversation with someone to be like that. So don't make your social media that way. So ask for feedback, but also you should engage with other social media pages, like other pages, comment when appropriate, be social. Just don't make it one-sided.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm seeing some great comments come in here. Thank you all. I'm seeing lots of requests for information on hashtags, and I know we will be getting to that. And some of our do's, actually. So we will get to that. Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Any advice on dealing with trolls? Oh, man. Yeah. Let me come back to that question a little bit, Robert, because it's a great question, and I know where you're coming from with that. It seems like there's a lot of that these days, so we will come back to that question. Let's move on to our next don't. All right, and I want to kind of keep us flowing here to respect everyone's time. So next don't that we have here. All right, don't be oblivious to proper image sizing. And this was something you had, again, brought up to me, Laura, in our conversations. I guess I didn't always think this through either. But tell us a little bit about photo sizing.
So obviously, again, you're wanting to stop the scroll. I'm probably going to say that 10 more times today because that's the whole meat and potatoes is you want people to see your post. So to stop the scroll, you can't have an image where their heads are cut off because you've posted a vertical image in a horizontal space. Mm-hmm. And so Facebook, Twitter, horizontal photos work the best. Mm-hmm. Make sure, if you have organic photos of people doing what you're posting about, things that that have actually happened, and you've got photo releases and you're allowed to post those, make sure you're showing the action, show people, make it an interesting photo, but then don't make the mistake of not cropping it correctly so you're unable to see that in the post. Instagram is very square, so make sure again that you are cropping it to where you're getting the meat of the photo. Mm-hmm. So not every photo, again, is going to work for every platform because they're all different, unfortunately. And so Google what proper image you need to have for that and edit and crop your photo accordingly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll tell you one thing that's been really beneficial to me too. If you're needing to kind of maybe expedite the process and you're interested in maybe templates that are already designed for those postings, I've used Canva before, Canva, and it has been phenomenal. It's really been a time saver, I think, for me because it has certainly allowed me to use the templates they already have, which are the proper image sizes for each of those. So another good little resource there for you.
I will also chime in too, Hootsuite, you had brought that up earlier, and they will also do that. So if you have a photo, it's not a graphic or whatnot, if it's an actual photo, and you know that you're posting a certain post to Twitter, you're able to size that, choose Twitter, and it'll automatically size it for that space.
Awesome.
For you.
Okay. All right. I like that. That's good to know too. All right. How about number 5 here? Moving in. Keep us rolling here, Laura. Don't forget to look at your analytics.
Yes, this is something I talk about a lot because and sometimes it gets a little depressing if you look at your analytics and you find that something you were really excited about sharing didn't get the engagement you wanted. But it's important for you to understand what people want from you and provide them with more of that. If you're not looking at your analytics on at least a weekly basis, you're missing out on opportunities to connect with your audience better. So Facebook has really good insight, on how many likes and shares. Don't necessarily look at the reach. Reach is kind of one of those things that billboards say, we have 5 million people that see our billboard every day. Well, you might have 5 million people drive by, but do they actually see your billboard? You don't know. Right. That's what reach is.
Right.
You don't know how many people, that's the potential for who could have seen your post, but not necessarily people that read it. You want to look at likes, you want to look at comments, and you want to look at shares. And those are when people are really engaging with your content. In addition to
link clicks. Yeah, I got you.
That's a mouthful.
Yep.
Always, again, that's something that, we'll probably talk about later, but always you want to post a link for people to get more information. Drive them back to your website, drive them back to somewhere else to get additional information if they want it. And so that's a really important analytic to look at as well, is how many people clicked on that link.
Sure, absolutely. And I think coming back to, again, what is it that you're trying to accomplish with it? Set your social media objectives. A lot of, I think the most common ones I see are really trying to expand your reach, trying to really dive into better customer service maybe, and obviously to generate revenue if you're a page. And so think about those objectives and figure out maybe what metrics would go along with them. It's a process, it certainly is, but don't forget to look at your analytics. All right, so I want to transition here a little bit. I have a good question here. Laura from Robert. He says, can we post photos taken by others? And what are guidelines for people in photos? I think that it is dependent on the circumstances and the account in which you're probably trying to post it on. Would that be right?
Yeah, I would say so. From our perspective at the university, we have a photo release form. So anytime we're at an event and we are taking photos, we ask people to sign that form, allowing us to use that photo on social media or in other marketing materials. We also have a subscription to a stock photo platform where you don't have to get special permission from the photographer to use those photos. You're paying a subscription fee to have access to those. But yes, I would say for the most part, you would want to get permission from a photographer to use a photo, and then a lot of times you'll also want to give that photographer credit for that photo.
Right.
But talking to them and asking them how they would like for you to do that would be a best practice.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. I hope, Robert, let us know if that answered your question. We appreciate you being on today. Thank you to everyone who's still here with us as we've gone through our don'ts. I want to transition. We're going to transition into some of our do's now. So the very first one, all right, I think we oftentimes forget about this, Laura. We forget to update our information. And this means even on your personal profile. You know, I looked back at mine from not too long ago and I was like, oh, some of those, your mind changes after 10 years of being on social. And so who I said I was 10 years ago is probably not who I want to be seen as now. But think about that. Think about what your bio says, right? What are some other pieces that people forget, I guess, when it comes to their page, updating it?
Yeah, I think it's really important, especially if the name of your business or organization or community platform doesn't necessarily explain who you are and what you do. You have the opportunity to do that in your about section. I mean, every Instagram has just a couple of sentences, so you have to be really succinct in that description. But Facebook, Twitter, you've got some more room to really explain who you are, what you do, how you benefit your customers, what you provide them. Also, always put your hours, contact information, phone number, email address, and a website. URL to your website so people can get more information. And look at that, probably doesn't need to be looked at every week or every month, but every year or so, make sure it's still up to date, that your mission hasn't changed drastically.
Right.
And also update your cover photos, your profile pictures. Make sure you don't have people in your cover photos that look out of style, out of date, because that doesn't really scream credibility,
Right. Yeah, having those modern photos, definitely. That's something we even work on here at MTI, because we do have, like you mentioned, we have that database, I guess, of stock photos, and a lot of them look like they're from the 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
So update some of those pictures. Definitely keep your information up to date if you're a business, but also for your own personal brand too, for your individual pages. All right, next up, we have. All right, making sure that, and this is where we're gonna touch on that topic that a lot of folks are asking for. All right, do your research to expand your reach. And I think when we talked about this, you brought up the great point of hashtags, and I think this is where this idea kind of came from. But talk a little bit about what hashtags are meant for.
So hashtags, in an ideal world, will expand your audience because you will reach someone who is searching for a particular hashtag. They're wanting to know about tomatoes because they're wanting to grow tomatoes, something that's on everyone's mind right now. Right? And so they might type in a hashtag on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter to get all the information on tomatoes. And so it's a way to get your post to people who are not necessarily following or liking your pages. But it's really important when you're posting, when you're using hashtags, to research which hashtags are the most relevant to your content. And the way you do that is just search in the search box of whatever platform you're on, search hashtags, search hashtag tomato. Look and see what other people are posting with that hashtag. If it's relevant to the content you're posting, if it goes along with that, use it. If it's not, if it's people painting pictures of tomatoes and you're posting a gardening photo, you don't want to use hashtag tomato because you're going to get the wrong audience to your content.
That's a great point.
Now, also, it depends on which platform you're using. If you're using Facebook or Twitter, you don't want to use more than 3 to 5 hashtags because then it just looks crazy. And especially in Twitter, that's taking up your character count. You know, you have a limited character count in Twitter. So you want to be strategic about not doing too many. I always tell people to always capitalize the first word in your hashtag, especially if it's a little long.
Yeah.
Growing tomatoes, you want, the G and the T to be capitalized, if that makes sense. But Instagram, you have a little more leniency of how many hashtags you can use, because that really no one necessarily sees that in your post. They don't see all these hashtags. It's just going to drive them to your post.
Right.
Instagram, they're just going to see when they're scrolling through, again, you're going to stop the scroll with your good photo, but also your one sentence, intro to your post. But you'll be able to get more people with good hashtags.
Sure.
So,
and I think when we think about hashtags too, and hashtags are meant for those, I get this question a lot, just having done some social media in former careers as well, what are they for, right? What are they, like, going back to kind of what they're really for? And in my mind, they're kind of like a filing cabinet, right? It's like you have a certain topic that you're interested in, and you use a hashtag to file your post in that filing cabinet.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
More people receive that information. And so again, you're trying to expand your reach. That's the whole point, especially if you're a business usually. So how do you do it? Well, use your hashtags, but use them sparingly, right? Making sure that you're doing your research to know which ones are appropriate, not getting too crazy with them. Don't make them long. Don't make them your own.
Right. The internal hashtags, they're not going to expand your audience, basically. So if you have a hashtag with the name of your business or some sort of mission statement or whatnot, it's not necessarily going to get more followers to you. It's just probably more of an internal thing. So you have to weigh, do I want to use my space for that internal hashtag, or do I want to use that space to generate more people by finding a hashtag people are actually searching for?
Right.
If that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. And that was something, because I got into the habit of using hashtag MTI, and I was like, wait, that is pretty internal. So I appreciate that advice, Laura. I certainly appreciate it. The next one we want to talk about a little bit too, it kind of goes along with this idea of you've now gained your engagement because you've expanded your reach, and now we want to really think about what we are posting. I'm trying to remember exactly where I wanted to go with this one. But think before you post, all right? Because here's the thing. I think in a lot of ways we all are trying to make ourselves go viral. We think that we could be the next big thing, and that will give us either an individual professional brand boost, or that'll give us a page boost, our brand boost. But be careful. Because sometimes there could be ramifications from that post itself. Maybe not directly, but maybe even indirectly. And I guess what I'm thinking about here with this, Laura, and I don't know if you saw it in the news, but there have been posts before that have been made that maybe were just giving an idea of what had happened with a particular business, maybe that wasn't a great customer service experience. Of course, not here at MU Extension, but then what happened is Robert brought up earlier, right? The trolling happens, and so then indirectly by how your post was received from other people, then maybe the business starts having ramifications. And I saw this even a lot too. I guess when I worked at the police department, there was a lot of things that people would just think of, just post out there, oh, just another day, and then it indirectly affected a lot of the messages and the content and just kind of the meanness, I think, on social media that was received from some audience that maybe wasn't even attached to the original post. That was a long way to get around to what I was trying to say. But you know what I'm saying? Like, in a way, our posts have the potential to damage things too.
Yeah, the most recent one I can think of is last weekend in St. Louis. A little girl drowned because her car got washed away in floodwaters.
Oh my goodness.
And she couldn't get out. And the highway patrol in St. Louis area posted something about another reminder. Like they shared that story about the little girl getting washed away. Another reminder why you shouldn't drive in flooded waters. From their point of view, they were just trying to tell people, don't drive through water, standing water on a road.
Right.
This thing happened. But you can obviously see, looking back on that, it was a horrible post for someone that this tragedy was,
right.
They were a part of that. So
right.
Really think about, any sort of controversial topic, anything that's just going to make people want to argue. I'm not sure from a business perspective that's ever really
right.
a good business practice. As far as people responding to post in a negative way, my philosophy is if it's not anything, if you can tell that they're just trying to get a response, most of the time I'll just let it go. If there is some very damaging or hurtful or things that could be hurtful to people, I will just hide that comment.
Okay.
Don't delete it, I just hide it. And also, but if someone is putting misinformation out, they're saying something that I can prove is incorrect, then I will reply to their comment with the correct information.
Right. Right. And you actually just kind of led us into this next one, right? You do want to engage in those relevant conversations. And I use that in the mindset of correcting misinformation, yes, as you just said, or things that you do have expertise in. So don't be afraid to engage. Be strategic, I guess, about the type of content you'll engage in, because you're right, there may just be people that are just looking to troll, and it may not be worth your time or effort, but certainly correcting that misinformation.
Yes, definitely. Okay. And if there's a hot topic going around that you do have good information about, adding a link to a web page or a news release or something that you've done to add to that conversation is certainly relevant. I mean, I love it when other places do that on my post.
Yeah.
And so I want to be able to do that with other posts, because then their followers are going to see my information. Hopefully they're going to like my page after that.
Right.
Or start following, or all of that stuff.
Yeah, that's how you really, especially if you are a business, you have to, again, as we mentioned earlier, right, we're not treating this as all promotional. You want to be social. You want to be engaged with different audiences, especially if it's kind of in your niche. And so engage in that, right? Use social media for what it was meant for. And then I think our last topic here on our do's, all right, I want us to set realistic expectations. And Laura, I think in a lot of ways, again, kind of going back to we get pages for everything because we think that we need to be on all of them. Because it will grow and we'll again, we think it's a sprint. We think that just by getting on there, we'll be immediately get all of our followers, we'll immediately get all of our likes. And when it doesn't happen, sometimes we get discouraged and we just stop doing it. So I want to encourage you to set those realistic expectations. What would you say to that?
I agree. I think it's really important to do 1 or 2 platforms to manage those really, really well. That's much more important than having 7 different platforms and just being mediocre at all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you start with one and you are meeting your goals, you're increasing your engagement, you can really see an impact from link clicks and shares, then start thinking about, okay, how can I expand my social media presence? And also, I think you mentioned this earlier, Brianna, about what is your goal for being on a social media platform? And concentrating just on that one goal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't think you have to do everything and be everything to everybody.
Right.
Concentrate on that one goal, and then once you meet it, continue what you're doing, and then maybe add another goal.
Yeah. Absolutely. It can become overwhelming, you know. Again, just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean that it's always right for you. And doesn't mean that you have to. You really do need to be careful, take a step back and think, how will I be using this? Because the last thing you want is to be frustrated by your social media accounts, right? You want to be able to enjoy it and engage with people and use it for what it was meant for. And so with that, I guess any other just kind of final thoughts before I ask you all out there for any other questions?
You know, I think the main point of social media is to engage with your audience.
Right.
You know, I think we beat that into the ground today.
Right.
But you're not going to know if it's working unless you try different things, look at your analytics, test some things out, be creative, be conversational, you know, do all of these things. And then you'll start seeing some progress, and you'll be able to be more consistent in your posting and really be able to show your impact to whoever is managing you. You know, hey, I've done this. I've increased followers. I've increased engagement. I've increased this stuff. And so don't get discouraged. Just take baby steps.
Right.
Right. And another thing I was going to say is that after this is over, I'm going to post some newsletters that some links to some newsletters that you can subscribe to that just focus on social media, what the trends are, what people are doing, some examples of good engaging accounts.
Awesome.
I think it's really important to always be learning from other people and finding out what the trends are. So I'll be sure to post that in the comments after this is over.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. I certainly appreciate that. And we'll get that up there. And we appreciate you sticking on with us today, again, through those technical difficulties at first. But we're grateful for you. And I want to just do a final check here. Are there any other questions that you all may have related to social media do's and don'ts? We'll try and answer them the best we can. If you don't think of them now, by all means, please feel free to comment on the video later and we can get back to those. You know, I want us to really recognize, as much as we focused on business pages today, that your personal brand is represented on all of your individual pages too. Okay, and by personal brand, whether you want it or not, you have a personal brand. All right, and so kind of do a check there, and do your pages say what you would want them to say about you? It is well known now that a lot of employers are using social media pages to go and to do kind of background checks on potential employees. So be aware of that, right? Be aware of that and consider that in all the things you post.
Well, there are also, your company or organization might have guidelines for their employees to follow on even their personal social media accounts. I know Mizzou does. You know, they have you know, if you were going to going to say that you work at the University of Missouri, this is kind of what we expect. We expect you to be professional, and so, you know, make sure you check your company's policies on that sort of thing.
Absolutely, and have fun with it. You know, I know we went through a lot of again, do's and don'ts today. All right, but have fun with social media because it can be fun. And if you don't have fun with it, then maybe find your Laura Lindsays that can have fun with it. So I just want to say thank you. Robert says that he's looking forward to those newsletters.
Okay,
so,
great.
Yeah.
Be sure to share those.
Any other questions that are coming in as we wrap up? let us know. I think we're going to go ahead and sign off. I'll keep an eye on the comment section afterwards, but I just want to say thank you so much
Oh,
for
no
joining
problem.
me today, Laura.
It's
Your
been fun.
expertise is great. You're such an asset to our organization. So.
Thank you. It's
Thank
very
you.
sweet. It's been fun.
Good, good. All right. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and take Ray's normal sign off, and I'm going to tell you all to go be great. All right. Go be great.